Let's go ahead and go to that number 2 team, which us and the fans are in lockstep with the Charleston Battery rocking in at number 2. Very close, by the way. Very, very close in the fan votes. Very, extremely. I'm just going to go ahead. John, who's in, who's out?
Yeah, I mean, if you're thinking about the departures, obviously Nick Marcanic is off in Spain now. We got some retirements with Adam Grinwis and Robbie Crawford. Other than that, just kind of squad players going away. And you think about the ads: Douglas Martinez, Johnny Klein, Nanan Husu, Luis Zamudio in goal. Of course, Cal Jennings today. This team is deep. They've got so many weapons. It's really been a gigantic offseason in Charleston.
Ryan, we saw this team be really, really good, but just like all teams in the East, everybody does eventually fall to like Rhode Island, and they fall along the way. Who did they end up? Actually, they didn't lose to Rhode Island. Who did they lose to? Oh gosh,
They
I don't
lost to Rhode
remember.
Island in the final.
It was Rhode Island. That's
Yeah, in
what
the
I thought.
conference, yeah.
That's what I thought. I don't know. Anyway, where you know they came close 2 years in a row. They make it to the Eastern Conference Final. They make it to the USL Final. Did these additions set them over the top to make it to that USL Final and win it?
I think it's really you can't overstate how important a player like Nick Marcanic was to this team. And if you look back from Charleston from last season, they had opened the season with 11 games unbeaten, including 6 in a row. They routinely got scorelines like 4-0 over New Mexico. Early, they beat Las Vegas Lights 6-0. They had a 5-0 victory over Indy 11. They had these really large scorelines that really kind of set them apart. And by the time they got to that second half of the season, they were pretty much locked into the second spot here in the conference. And then when Louisville, who went out in the conference semifinals, they really kind of perked up their ears, especially if they were able to host the Eastern Conference Final. It didn't go the way as they had hoped. Rhode Island ended up prevailing 2-1 to advance to the USL Cup Final. But this is still a very good Charleston team who Ben Pierman has this team basically firing on all cylinders pretty much week in and week out, that they're one of the more reliable teams to wager on, if I would say so myself. But this is a Battery team who looks primed to be another really top contender in the conference. Cal Jennings being added on as a forward is very good as well. And I even picked in our own personal polls, this was my regular season Eastern Conference champion.
So, John, let me ask you, because when I'm looking at this team, when I see Jennings, Myers up top, when you had Torres on the right, when you have Clean coming in, when you have Dos Santos back on the left, when you have Graham Smith, Archer, Segbers, and then just the midfield duo of Malloy and Hosu, how can you not say this team is better than Louisville City?
I mean, I think what Louisville City has is the fact that they've done it, right? They finished 12 points above Charleston last year. They won important games against Charleston late in the season. You think about the fact that Lou City's got the system, and Charleston kind of needs to prove that Husu Landry can be an impact player. They've got to show that whatever's going to happen with Cal Jennings and MD Myers is going to be a workable balance. There's obviously a lot of pieces here that you love. And I think at the end of the day, like, it's going to come down to one of 3 teams at the top of the East, not only for the conference title, but the Players' Shield title. And Charleston's in that mix. Just, it's the factor of, we got to see this team do it once the regular season starts. But boy, oh boy, on talent alone, they feel like they are the best team in the USL.
Ryan, obviously the big signing that was officially announced today, young Padawan, is Cal Jennings, where he's reuniting with Ben Pierman. This is a guy who knows how to get things out of Jennings, right? But when you're looking at your goal scorer being Nick Marcanic last year, kind of on the outside, are you obviously the 2020 season with Jennings in Memphis? That was a weird year. We all know about that. But are you expecting Cal Jennings just to be the workhorse that Marcanic was? Or are you expecting more of just kind of goals by committee?
Yeah, we always made the joke throughout the off season, and it's been a long running meme on the podcast of it's if we can't have Nick Marcanic, you can recreate him in the aggregate, but getting someone who has a USL pedigree such as Cal Jennings into that squad is at least a good starting point. And it seems like this is a squad that, as we've mentioned before, Ben Piran can get the most out of to really propel them to the top of the Eastern Conference.
I just want to say this defense was already so good. They're returning the core of what made it so good. And then adding Langston Blackstock and Joey Akponono, and especially Akponono, who's somebody who was very good at center back and right back last season for Hartford. That's kind of unfair. Like you add in the fact that you've got Husu kind of shielding things in front of that back line. This team, which was already so elite defensively, is going to be really hard to break down.
Well, speaking of that defense you got to break down, let's go ahead and look at this team. Going from the back, Zamudio?
Mudia, you got it. Yeah.
Cool. He is going to be in net, and then this 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3 if you just count it that way. 4-2-3-1. From the left to the right, DeSantos, Smith, Archer, Segbers in the middle of Hosu, Malloy on the left, clean. Rodriguez in the middle, Torres on the right, and Jennings up top. Any final thoughts before we go on?
Go Pedro.
Go Pedro.